It's Johnny Two-Face here, back with another reaction video. And this time I'm reacting to Napoleon Crosses the Alps, The Road to Marengo by Epic History. So it's another video for the Epic History series, and yes, it will be going on the playlist in time. So but it's nice to be reacting to more about the Napoleonic Wars, especially about Napoleon's career and major battles. And as usual, Epic History does an amazing job with this, and yeah, there's not much more I can add. If you haven't seen my other Napoleonic war videos by Epic History that I've reacted to, there is a playlist on my channel to watch the others if you haven't seen them, and feel free to check them out before checking this one out if you really like to. And I have tried to put that playlist in order that I think is the right order, so so basically as these events happen. So I'm hoping my the order I put them in is the correct one. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. The usual disclaimer when I react to any historical content: if I don't show so much what is considered a proper reaction, it is probably obvious I don't know much about the subject at hand, and if I do know anything, I'll most likely pause the video to give my input or ask any curious questions, which hopefully will be answered in the comments. So, with that being said, the link to the original video will be in the description down below. Please go and subscribe to Epic History. I still think are one of the best history channels here on YouTube. And yeah, there's not much more I can say because I can't wait to get into this. So I don't know about you, so I'm gonna get right into this. Full screen. Get that up, captions on, and here we go.
30-year-old first consul.
Whoops.
The year is 1800, and France has a new leader. 30-year-old first consul, Napoleon Bonaparte. 5 months have passed since the Brumaire coup cast France's directory into the dustbin of history.
That's a good way to put it.
Napoleon has skillfully outmaneuvered his co-conspirators. And in a new constitution, confirmed by a massively rigged referendum, he's been confirmed as first consul. Alongside new consuls, Cambaceres and Lebrun. Napoleon wields enormous executive power, and is eager to use it.
Oh yes.
First, he offers an amnesty to royalist rebels in the Vendée, helping to pacify the region and freeing up troops. Then he creates...
Which, if you remember from the Napoleon's Marshals series, that's the general in charge of that campaign, if I remember rightly, was Suchet. Before he was a Marshal Suchet.
It's a new national bank to restore confidence and growth to France's dysfunctional economy. He strengthens the gendarmerie, the paramilitary police, and orders it to take ruthless action against bandits who infest the French countryside.
Wow.
And he transforms French government, personally appointing prefects to govern every French département, as well as sub-prefects and even the mayors of larger towns. Each achievement is trumpeted by the few newspapers still allowed to print, and which are now entirely under state control. But there is no reason to doubt Napoleon's immense popularity, and that his remarkable energy has begun to drag France out of chaos and torpor. However, his reputation has been forged in war.
Yep.
And with France facing another military crisis, he must quickly turn the situation around, or his rule could end as suddenly as it began.
I offer peace to the Austrian Emperor. He did not wish it. We now have to take it by the throat. Wow.
France is threatened on two fronts by the armies of Austria, which has 200,000 men in the field.
Wow.
In Germany, France's most powerful force, General Moreau's Army of the Rhine, is poised to launch a counterattack. Moreau is a skilled commander with influential friends, who had himself turned down an invitation to lead a coup against the Directory.
Wow.
Napoleon, warily respectful for now, offers advice, but will leave Moreau to wage his own campaign. It is in Italy that Napoleon identifies the greatest threat and the greatest opportunity. Three years ago, Napoleon's stunning victories had left France dominating northern Italy. But in 1799, forces of the Second Coalition, led by the great Russian general Alexander Suvorov, had won a series of crushing victories over the French. He had then been ordered to Switzerland. But before he could get there, General Massena's victory at Zurich thwarted coalition plans to unite their armies and staved off disaster for France. The unpredictable Emperor Paul, incensed by British provocations, had then withdrawn Russia from the Second Coalition.
Oh, okay.
But nearly 100,000 Austrians remain in northern Italy, under the aggressive and able leadership of General Melas. French forces, on the other hand, are scattered, outnumbered, and desperately short of supplies. It's nothing new for France's Army of Italy. But even the arrival of the great General Massena to take charge barely lifts morale. It is a fragile position. But secretly, Napoleon is planning a grand strategic maneuver to turn the tables on the Austrians and crush Melas's army. At Dijon, he has begun to assemble a new Army of the Reserve under the nominal command of General Berthier.
As future Chief of Staff.
Veterans and conscripts alike are scraped together from depots, provinces, and garrisons, until a force of 60,000 men has been gathered. A more cautious strategist may have chosen to reinforce Massena from the west, using established supply routes to shore up the front. But driving the enemy back on his own supply depots is likely to lead to stalemate. Instead, Napoleon plans to swing south through the Alps mountains and emerge behind General Melas, cutting off his supplies and his escape. It is among the most daring.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's going to be very daring, especially if people know what the Alps, how. I learned a little bit how treacherous the environment of the Alps can be. So yeah, this has been a very daring strategic plan.
Strategic plans in history. but it will depend on secrecy and surprise, a swift and safe passage through the mountains, and for Massena to hold the line in Italy as long as he can. But while Napoleon's army is still assembling in France, Massena comes under heavy attack. On the 6th of April, General Melas launches an offensive, while General Ott makes a diversionary attack on Genoa. His main force moves to cut the coastal road at Savorna, driving a wedge between General Suchet's forces and General Massena. The French launch desperate counterattacks to break the encirclement, and General Soult wins a brilliant local victory over Ott at Montefache. But the French are heavily outnumbered. After 2 weeks hard fighting, Massena is forced to withdraw into the city of Genoa, where he is besieged by land and sea.
Yep, because there's British ships on the Med.
General Suchet is harried all the way back to the Var River on the French frontier. News of the army of Italy's defeat disturbs Napoleon. He is relying on Massena to fix Melas's attention. If Genoa falls before he arrives in Italy, he will be a sitting duck, trapped between the Austrians and the mountains. On the 6th of May, Napoleon travels to Geneva to join the Army of the Reserve and order the offensive to begin.
An army can pass always. For any reason, however, 2 men can set their feet. Wow.
The Alps. 500 miles long, more than 100 miles wide.
Wow.
Their highest peaks more than 15,000 feet. They can be traversed by several well-known mountain passes. But these are narrow, winding trails, vulnerable to avalanches, with no fodder for horses and mules.
Oh yeah,
It's a daunting challenge for an army of 50,000 with 40 guns and hundreds of wagons. Napoleon has decided the bulk of his forces will cross at the Great St. Bernard Pass at an elevation of 8,100 feet.
Jeez.
On the 15th of May, General Lannes and his advance guard begin the climb. Even in late spring, the mountains are blanketed in deep snow. To reduce the risk of avalanche, they march at night and early morning. A strict silence is enforced. The only noise, the howling wind and crunching snow. The barrel of each cannon weighs around half a ton. General Marmont, commanding the artillery, comes up with the idea of laying them in hollowed-out tree trunks so they can be hauled like sleds. Lannes' advance guard snakes up the 8-mile trail. It's 5 hours of grueling uphill marching, and at several points the men are close to mutiny.
That's another thing to worry
But
about.
they make it. At 8,100 feet, they reach the summit of the pass and the St. Bernard Hospice, where food and rest has been prepared.
Wow.
The rest of the army completes the crossing over the next 10 days. It is a testament to General Berthier's planning that just 5 men and a single cannon are lost. Contrary to Napoleonic propaganda, the first consul made the crossing on a sure-footed mule, trailing the army, rather than leading it on a charger.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was actually...
Lannes' advance guard presses forward,
I heard that him on a charger was fiction, but I didn't know. I didn't know it was like that much into fiction. I didn't know he was behind the army instead of the middle or the front. Sorry, I don't know why I said it like that, but still.
Into the Aosta Valley. They sweep aside small Austrian outposts, then surprise and scatter a whole battalion at Châtillon. But a nasty surprise awaits at Fort Bard. The fort, held by the indomitable Captain Bernkopf and 400 troops, dominates the pass with its heavy artillery.
Wow.
Infantry and cavalry can skirt around it by means of a goat path, but artillery and wagons will be seriously delayed until Fort Bard is taken. A first assault by French grenadiers fails, with 200 casualties. The fort remains defiant, and for Napoleon, the clock is ticking. In Italy, the French position is increasingly desperate. On the 15th of May, the garrison of Savona surrenders. In Genoa, Massena conducts a brave and active defense, though in one sortie, General Soult is badly wounded and captured. But now, starvation looms. There are already reports of cannibalism.
Ooh.
Napoleon cannot wait for Fort Bard to fall. The army must push on without its guns and baggage, and hope to capture supplies from the Austrians. On the 23rd of May, Lannes attacks the enemy at Ivrea, taking the town and citadel. 3 days later, he defeats General Hadig near the village of Romano. The Austrians fall back on Turin. With 30,000 French troops now pouring into Lombardy, Napoleon has done it. He has completed one of the most famous marches in history. Italy is wide open, and the Austrians are scrambling to respond.
We have struck here like lightning. The enemy can hardly believe it.
Mélas quickly grasps the significance of Napoleon's maneuver. He immediately recalls Elsnitz's corps from the French frontier and sends his forces to guard the River Po crossings. He assumes the French will march to relieve Genoa. But despite the desperate plight of Massena and his starving garrison, Napoleon turns east, towards Milan. General Vukasovic holds the city, but heavily outnumbered, he retreats towards Mantua. On the 2nd of June, Napoleon enters the capital of Lombardy. But unlike the celebrations of 1796, this time, French troops are received in cold silence. Locals have not forgotten Napoleon's brutal crackdowns of the past. Regardless, in Milan, his army can finally rest and requisition much-needed supplies. 3 days later, reinforcements arrive from the Army of the Rhine, General Moncey's division, which has made its own arduous alpine crossing through the Gotthard Pass. The first consul is on the cusp of achieving his grand encirclement. Back in the mountains, Fort Bard finally surrenders, but its stubborn defense means Napoleon will be short of guns and ammunition in the days ahead. Then, on the 8th of June, disastrous news arrives. Napoleon has asked too much of Massena. For weeks, Genoa has been a scene of utter horror. Several thousand civilians have starved to death or died of disease, along with 4,000 French soldiers. General Massena, his own health broken and furious at Napoleon's failure to relieve him, negotiates an honourable surrender, which will allow his surviving troops to return to France. The fall of Genoa frees Ott and 12,000 soldiers to march north to join Melas. Napoleon is determined that the Austrians will not now slip past him and escape his trap. And so he divides his army to cover all possible routes east. For once, it is Napoleon's forces that are overextended. And it is Lannes' advance guard that will pay the price. With 7,000 men, Lannes has secured a bridgehead across the river Po, near Belgiojoso. On the 8th of June, he presses forward, intending to drive the enemy from the Stradella defile. But unknown to Lannes, he is on a collision course with General Ott's division, marching north from Genoa. He is about to stumble into a battle, outnumbered 2-1.
Bones cracked in my division like glass in a hailstorm. Wow. Land on the Battle of Montebello.
On the morning of the 9th of June, Lannes' advance guard fights a running battle with what it believes to be an isolated Austrian unit, driving it back towards the walled town of Casteggio. In fact, it is General Ott's advance guard.
Wow.
What rolling hills and tall rye fields hide from view is the rest of Ott's command, 16,000 strong, following up close behind. Around noon, the French spot Austrian infantry holding a ridge to the south. Assuming it's the enemy rearguard, Lannes orders a brigade to swing round and attack. Meanwhile, his cavalry continues to Casteggio. They scatter the enemy in their path and break into the town, only to be surprised and countercharged by a much larger Austrian cavalry force. On the heights, the French make steady progress, until 4,000 Austrian reinforcements hove into view. Soon, Lannes' men are being pulverized by artillery fire. His force is hard-pressed everywhere, and still, enemy reinforcements continue to arrive.
Wow. That is dire.
But Ott is cautious and holds back a large reserve. The broken ground leaves him unsure of enemy strength, and he has orders not to be drawn into a major battle.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but like how gorgeous all this artwork is. And to think how much exhaustion from either side to have all these battles. I mean, this must be terrifying for Lannes, because he thinks he's getting the upper hand, but then it seems like enemy reinforcements seem to be coming in out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, but you know what I mean. I'm guessing from Lannes' perspective that these reinforcements are just coming in out of nowhere. Sorry, I'm just admiring for another moment for all this, how beautiful all this is done. To the trees, to the towns and the hills and the valley, and all the troops all over the place. And all the smoke design. It's just beautiful, amazing.
At 2 p.m, Lannes receives his own reinforcements. 6,000 men of General Victor's division. Lannes wastes no time. Victor's 43rd line renews the attack on the right. The Austrian line buckles, falling back to a small stream. The rest of Victor's men race towards Casteggio. Under a hail of cannon fire, their advance stalls. But the 6th Light Infantry is able to cross the Coppa River to the north. Around the same time, French infantry take Casa Il Giardiana, splitting the Austrians in two. Fearing he will be outflanked, General Schellenberg, commanding the Austrian centre, orders a slow withdrawal. Seeing this, Lannes sends the 96th line forward to storm Casteggio. With his men tired and darkness falling, Ott orders a retreat to Voghera. The Battle of Montebello, as it becomes known, was a hard-fought soldiers' battle in which French determination triumphed in the face of Austrian numbers and artillery. As Napoleon inspects...
Not to mention that for the most part, the Austrians had the high ground with their artillery, so...
the battlefield, he is greeted by an old friend, General Louis Desaix, who has escaped from Egypt during a temporary armistice. Just a year older than Napoleon, Desaix is another of France's brilliant young generals, who will play a crucial role in the days ahead. He is immediately given command of 2 divisions. Montebello is a glorious victory for Lannes. Napoleon will one day reward him with the title Duke of Montebello. But the larger picture is unchanged. Napoleon still desperately seeks his decisive battle, the victory that may end the war with Austria, and will surely make his position as First Consul unassailable. But Napoleon allows fear of the Austrians' escape to dominate his thinking. Once more, he divides his forces. Just as Melas is ordering his forces to concentrate at Alessandria for battle. Napoleon has misjudged his opponent. He is headed towards a nasty surprise. A bloody battle that will cost him dear. And threaten the future of the consulate. Napoleon needed a win in Italy. His last campaign, in Egypt, had been scuppered at the Battle of the Nile by the Royal Navy and a certain Rear Admiral Horatio Nelson. We've got a great new video on this decisive naval encounter featuring stunning original 3D graphics. And if you want to see it now, you can head over to prestige streaming service Nebula. There you can also watch our video on the Battle of Cape St. Vincent, with Trafalgar coming soon.
Wow.
And we're far from the only history creator on Nebula. If you enjoy our videos on lesser-known conflicts, then you'll love Neo's series Underexposure, which looks at neglected yet fascinating stories from our... and a massive discount for Epic History viewers. The link in our video description gets you 40% off the annual plan. That's to knowledge you're helping your better The Nebula Lifetime Plan offers lifetime access, no strings, for $300 and helps Nebula to fund more of its Nebula subscription.
Feel free to check that out if you're
Thanks,
interested.
as always, to the Patreon members who make this channel possible. From builders such as Shane Paterick, Matthew Lance Tanche, and Patrick Quinn, to citizens such as...
And that'll do it. This has been another amazing video on the Napoleonic Wars by Epic History, and just put a like there. And oh, so it's all building up to the Battle of Marengo, and just how much detail goes into these videos is amazing, and all the hard work that these guys do on it. So I can't give much more better praise than that. So so anyway, if you like this reaction, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.